In 2021, the IT systems of Ireland's entire National Health Service were brought to a complete standstill due to a cyber attack, or to be more specific, a ransomware attack. Hospitals had to cancel thousands of appointments, medical staff reverted to pen and paper, and patient records became inaccessible for weeks. As you can imagine, this caused confusion, difficulties, worries, and even dangerous situations for thousands of citizens, patients, and healthcare workers. The recovery of the attack took months and cost the Irish government over €100 million. Unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. Around the world, hospitals, ministries, courts, and even electoral systems have fallen victims to cyber attacks. And while the computer and IT systems are getting stronger, so are the attackers. Public authorities have to live with the possibility of being under attack every second. Furthermore, as governments digitalize their services, they simultaneously become inevitably more connected and hence more vulnerable. And naturally, the question arises, who is responsible for protecting our public infrastructure, what tools and strategies exist to defend it, and how well are governments actually prepared at this time? Today we will talk about cyber defense in the public sector. And to understand this topic better and avoid misunderstandings, let us first define key terms. Starting with cyber threat. These include any attempts that aim at gaining unauthorized access to disrupt or damage digital systems. They can come from criminal organizations, foreign governments, or even private persons and range from stealing sensitive data to shutting down critical infrastructure, as in our Irish hospital case. Next, cyber defense describes the measures, tools, and strategies that are being put in place to protect digital systems from those threats. In the public sector, this includes technical solutions like firewalls and encryption, but also policies, regulations, and government-wide security protocols. Usually, the Ministry of the Interior and the military are responsible for such tasks. Last, we have cyber resilience, which is where the circle closes. Resilience goes beyond simply trying to block attacks. It is a government's or organization's ability to keep functioning during an attack and recover from it as quickly as possible. It acknowledges a difficult but important truth. It is not a question of whether breaches happen, but when. And it is of highest importance to be prepared when they do. Together, these three concepts form a useful framework that move from understanding the threat to actively defending it, to building the capacity to withstand and recover from it quickly. But when we are looking further, what does research tell us about cyber defense in the public sector? First, the public sector is one of the most frequently targeted sectors and often one of the least well defended, unfortunately. Government institutions are a tempting target for hackers and attackers as they hold enormous amounts of sensitive personal data, such as income records, health information, social security details, and so on. All that while at the same time they often have tight budgets, outdated IT infrastructure, and slow procurement processes, meaning they are just simply not equipped well enough to defend themselves at a level which the private sector often can. Second, it is to note that geopolitically, cyber attacks on public infrastructure are increasing, especially nowadays due to hybrid warfare. They are no longer just the work of criminal organizations looking for financial gains, but also often a tool of opposing states looking to realize their own will in other countries. Examples here would be using bots to influence elections in other countries or attacking energy grids to weaken them. Here, cyber defense turns into a matter of national security, and what often just looks like a technical incident can, in reality, be an act of political aggression. Third, it is also to note that the biggest vulnerability is often not the technology itself, but the people using it. Research consistently shows that the majority of successful breaches in the public sector are caused by human error, meaning employees falling for phishing mails, using weak passwords, and so on. Training and awareness here are hence a matter of increasing defense and resilience. Still, despite growing awareness, there are several significant challenges that contribute in holding the public sector back when it comes to cyber defense. First, budgets in cyber defense in the public sector are often way less compared to the ones in the private sector. However, due to rising conflicts and complications in geopolitics, awareness rises and budgets are being lifted. Second, as mentioned prior, the responsibility for cyber defense is usually not just the task of one authority, but usually two or three. And each agency is often simultaneously responsible for their own defense. This creates weak points, and attackers can just look for the least secure authority and attack them. Third, when it comes to using digital systems and infrastructures, the public sector often still depends on the private sector. They rely on company technologies to run and maintain their systems. Therefore, vulnerabilities can also exist entirely outside of a government's control. Last, there is also a tension easy to overlook, which is the conflict between security and civil liberties and rights. A stronger and better cyber defense often requires more monitoring of networks and user behaviors. Here the question arises, at what point does protecting the system come at the cost of surveilling the citizens it is supposed to serve? So, what can we take away from all of this? Cyber defense in the public sector is not a niche technical issue anymore. It is one of the defining governance challenges of our time. As governments continue to digitalize, stakes only get higher. The data they hold becomes more valuable, the systems they run become more critical, and the consequences of failure become more serious. Cyber defense is inseparable from digitalization. You cannot on the one side build a modern digital government without simultaneously investing in the security to protect it. Meanwhile, cyber defense is not just about the technology, but it also requires political commitment, adequate funding, a trained and aware workforce, and clear responsibilities across institutions. As we heard, these are all on the same level. A sophisticated firewall means nothing if a staff member opens the wrong email. It is to note that this field, unfortunately, is evolving much faster than most governments can keep up with. AI-driven attacks and hackers become more powerful, more targeted, and harder to detect each day, which raises a question. As the threat landscape changes at a pace, are public institutions able to adapt with it quickly enough? And when they fail to do so, who is ultimately accountable? And what issues do citizens have to suffer from? But to end this presentation positively, the good news is that we already have examples of what success looks like. Countries like Estonia have shown that with the right investment, the right mindset, and a commitment to building security in from the start, a resilient digital public sector is absolutely achievable. This means that a blueprint already exists. It is just a matter of political will to follow it.